Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and after what seems like a lifetime waiting, I finally have the Mesozoic Life Spinosaurus here in hand. And man, I have been waiting so long for this. This figure was originally teased quite a ways back with a Kickstarter campaign, and many people took part in it, and it took a long process to get this figure fully finished and again out to the public, but it's finally here. As you can see, we've got 1/35th scale and painted version here on the front of the packaging, as well as a really nice image of the Spinosaurus itself. If you take, actually we'll turn it to the side, and then we'll go to the back, which you can see there's nothing on. But if we go to the side, you can see some more really nice images of the Spinosaurus up here, as well as, again, the information over here, including the Mesozoic Life figure series logo right there. And that's probably, I think, all we're going to really find on this. Information, of course, on the underside. Actually, information about the Spinosaurus, which is really nice. I actually didn't even realize that was there, but that's pretty cool. And again, the information over here. As you can see, it's kind of a slip cover that goes over like some foam. So let's pop this out of the packaging and check it out. So there we go. It's now out of the packaging and standing here before us, and man, what a beauty of a Spinosaurus. They definitely did a very good job on this. The sculpt is incredible. We knew that coming into it because we've seen the images of it for so long, if you have been following this project anyway. But you know, of course, I was really quite interested to see how the paint apps would look on the final product, and overall I think it looks pretty good. Definitely looks elegant for sure. Very nice naturalistic paint apps, and I love the base. The base might be one of my favorite parts about this because it just looks so nice underneath the Spino. Definitely one of the more impressive Spinosaurus models that I have seen on the market for sure. So without further ado, let's jump to a closer look and we'll check it out from there. So starting up here at the head sculpt of the Spinosaurus, you can see the Spino is sculpted with its mouth in an open position. It doesn't have an articulated jaw or anything, so it is always in this pose. But it does look pretty nice. Again, the overall skull shape and everything looks good. You can see the nostrils right there. Pretty decent looking skin texture as well, which is nice to see. Very fine skin texture as you lead back there, like under the eye, closer to the ear. Same thing sort of here on the lower jaw, but it's also a little bit bumpier as far as the scales go as you lead out there toward the tip of the lower jaw. You have a nice mixture of colors as you've got off-whites, light greens, grays, all sorts of color added to the Spino here. I really actually like that very subtle addition of those light greens that you see in the face. I never even really noticed that on the original promo images for it, so that's pretty cool to see that on the figure. You can see the eyes, of course, are really small, but they're painted perfectly. There's no sloppiness whatsoever. Nice green eye with a black pupil. You've got a little red up there in the crest for the Spinosaurus. You can see, again, little bits of gray kind of creeping up into the crest as well. And as you look along the snout, there's also some variations of brown kind of hiding within the grays as well. The teeth are all sculpted pretty nicely. They have like a yellowish tint to them overall on both the upper and lower jaws, which is, I guess, a pretty realistic tone of color. You definitely don't want it to have like pearly whites. There's a nice pinkish tone there for the skin stretching with the mouth opened up. The inside of the mouth actually features a different pinkish tone, a little bit of a different shade. You can see the tongue sticking up in there as well. Some okay detail inside, but not overly detailed, but it does look pretty good. As you lead back into the neck, you can see all sorts of skin creases and wrinkles. The dinosaur has its head turned toward its right, so you would definitely expect to see that, especially on this side. You have like a little row of osteoderms following along the side of the neck as well as on the top of the spinal column. Very nice variations of grays. You've got a darker gray at the top, lighter gray as you move down, and then like a white tone here for the underside, but there are also some pinkish tones blended in there as well, which you can see. And the skin texture definitely continues to look quite vibrant. You can see a very obvious seam here where the lower jaw was connected. I don't think it takes away from the model or anything too much, especially when you look at it from right here. It's barely noticeable, but it is noticeable, just not all that noticeable. As you move down here into the body, you can see a little bit more creasing down at the bottom of the neck. As we lead into the body, you can see the muscle definition of the arm looks really good. The arms in general are sculpted quite nicely. They have a very nice natural position. There's a bend there in the elbow, and you can see the elbow itself. Very smooth transition again from the dark grays back to the lighter tones there in the back of the arm. And then as you move down into the hands, the fingers look really good. You've got the nails painted with a dark brown tone. They don't really have much as far as like a shine goes, but like a slight shine, I would say just enough to make it look like, you know, the shine you would see on nails, which is nice. And as you move back up into the stomach, you can see the skin lightens up a lot to a very light gray, but then there's like some splotchy dark gray spots that show up here in the stomach region, and that looks pretty cool. There's also a very light greenish tone in there. I don't know how good it's picking up on camera. It's actually super subtle even here in person, but I can definitely see a very slight tint of green in that area. Moving back along the course of the stomach, again, lots more skin wrinkles and folds and stuff. You can see the skin stretching off of the stomach because the dinosaur is extending its leg out behind it. Really nice skin detail as you move up here into the top of, like, closer to the hip region. You've got all sorts of creases and stuff right there. Moving up into the sail, you can continue to see how nice that skin detail and skin texture looks. Like, it looks really good, very high quality, and I like that there's a darker gray, but you can see the lighter gray kind of creeping through all of the cracks and crevices of the skin texture, which does look really nice. There's also a darker gray that runs along the outer edge of the sail, and we have this very cool appearance to the sail itself, definitely giving the dinosaur a very flashy look, as we have mixtures of, like, you know, reds and oranges and yellows and stuff in there, giving it almost like the look of flames as you move through the course of the sail, almost like the hot rod version of a Spinosaurus. But it does look really nice, and again, the detail looks excellent in that area. As you move back, you can see the hip bone right there. You can also see more of those scoots, actually, like those osteoderm-like scoots you can see following along the underside there of the sail, all the way out over the top of the hip. Moving down, you've got the muscle definition looking pretty good. Very dark grayish tone bordering on a black here in the thigh. You've got some more creasing in the knee, the kneecap itself, and as you move down, you can even see more really subtle variations of those greenish tones I was mentioning. You can definitely see right here. I can even see it popping up back here in the tail as well. Once you move down into the foot, you can see the foot looks really good. It's obviously in the walking position. It's in the course of walking along maybe the side of a river or something, or a stream. You can see that there is nice webbing within the toes, which is actually really cool. Not something you always see with Spinosaurus, but I really do like seeing it on this model. And something that I just noticed that I almost thought was like damage to the model, but I didn't really notice it before. You have the webbing over here. You have webbing on this side of the toes as well, but you can see it's actually split, so it's almost like it was injured. I don't think that's damage. I think that was purposely done, which, if so, was actually a really nice touch. That's a very nice dose of realism I definitely did not expect. You can see the toes, again, sculpted nicely of a lighter tone when it comes to the webbed areas, and you can see, again, a dark brown for the nails. As you move back up here into the tail, you can see more beautiful scale detail, and you can see they've done a good job of highlighting a lot of the scale detail with a very light dry brushing of a dark gray. But within the tail, if you actually kind of, you know, take a step back and take a look at it, you can see super subtle variation of color, obviously airbrushed on, and you can see browns, grays, and greens all through the course of the tail. So even though, you know, at first glance it may not look all that colorful, there is actually a lot of color, a lot of paint added to it. You can very clearly see we have that paddle-like tail that we always see Spinosaurus displayed with currently as well. And you can see the osteoderms leading out. They start to kind of taper away and disappear, but they do still follow along the top of the tail, and as you lead out, you do have a little bit of a curve, you know, leading out there toward the tip. And then if we turn our Spinosaurus around and take a look at the opposing side, again, the head sculpt definitely looks nice. There's a good bit of flashiness to the face of the Spino. I think the paint apps and the color scheme they've gone with looks really good on the figure as a whole. As you move back into the neck, you can see more creasing again, and more of those greenish tones. I don't even know if I pointed that out on the other side, or even if I noticed it on the other side, but again, more of that really subtle green added to the neck, which I almost don't even notice it until I let the light hit it. Very cool paintwork on this figure. And again, you can see the coloration here on the underside of the neck features more of that pinkish tone. Kind of an abrupt transition from that dark gray leading back, but it kind of has that same sort of abrupt transition through the area that it is applied, so I guess it doesn't look too bad as far as that goes. As you move down, you can see a little bit more wrinkling and creasing, again, as you lead into the body. The arm is in almost the same position on this side as it was on the other side, except it's just a little bit further forward. You can see the nails and everything, again, look really quite nice. And if you take take a look at the underside of the palms of the hands. That as well looks really good. Looks like maybe I've got a little bit of a paint scuff here on the nails, 2 of the nails of the hands, but that's not a big deal. I could very easily touch that back up. But as you move back up here, you can again see more of those greenish tones as well as the light grays in the stomach region, more of those dark grays again spotting and patterning in, and you can see more really beautiful skin texture, all sorts of skin wrinkles and folds and stuff. And again, the sail looks incredible as you lead up with that very cool, almost flame-like look, and that again painted pretty nicely. If you get nice and close, you can see the actual application of that paint does look pretty decent. And then as you move down, you can see how this leg is taking a step forward. You can really see how the leg is tensing, like massively tensing in the thigh and the calf moving down as the other foot is picking up off of the ground. This foot would definitely be supporting most of the weight of the Spinosaurus, so that is a really nice, very small attention to detail on the part of Mesozoic Life that I really like. And as you move down, you can see again the foot sculpt looks really good over here. You can definitely see the webbing now for sure on display. You can also see the dew claws as well. But as you lead back out again into the tail, it looks pretty much as it did on the first side. It is curved toward us, but not enough that it's going to create a drastic difference on the visual of that side. And if you move along the underside, that as well all looks really quite nice the entire way through. Again, you've got the Mesozoic Life brand down here. You can see 2020 is when this figure actually started production. So it's been a little bit of a, trek to get to this point, but I'm really happy to finally have this here. That is an absolutely gorgeous Spinosaurus. And then we've got the base, and the base is actually really lightweight. You can see it's almost looking like the same type of base you would see for like a Beasts of the Mesozoic release, but obviously way longer. You've got the footprints of the Spinosaurus there as it's kind of walking along. You do have a peg right there to apply to the underside of the foot of the Spino to help it stand, and obviously we've got a really nice earthy area moving through, kind of like a little mound of dirt or something over here, and everything looks really good. Like, I specifically love the colors added to it. The texturing and everything definitely looks quite lifelike, but the colors of this are very vibrant and very impressive. Definitely looking realistic, but I'm absolutely a massive fan of the colors added to the base, and the overall visual of the Spino standing on that base is fantastic. As far as a size goes, and it is definitely a big Spinosaurus, for a length from the tail, the tip of the tail to the snout, this is a pretty rough measurement, about 19 3/4 inches, or a little over 50 centimeters. And then for a height to the top of the head, you're looking at around 7 inches or 18 centimeters, and then to the top of the sail, it's actually a little bit too far away. I would say a little over the 7-inch range, or a little over 18 centimeters roughly. Again, that wasn't the best measurement, and I think I probably bumped the camera a little bit while doing that because I had to reach out pretty far just to kind of have the camera back enough to keep the Spino in screen. But for a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon in the Collect Day human being next to our Spinosaurus, which you can see is very large, definitely quite massive compared to pretty much every other figure here next to it. We've also got a Mattel Velociraptor and Dilophosaurus stepping in here again, showing you that this Spino is very large. Then for a comparison that I feel like will really help to tell the tale here, you can see a comparison next to the older PNSO Spinosaurus, which very clearly is extremely similar in size to the Mesozoic Life version. The Mesozoic Life version, in my opinion, is definitely nicer, but obviously very similar in size. So if you do have this older Spino from PNSO, you'll definitely have a good idea of the size of this Mesozoic Life version. We've also got a comparison next to the TNG version of the Spinosaurus, which very clearly the Mesozoic Life version is significantly larger than. We've also got the Favorite Co. version of the Spino next to the Mesozoic Life version. Again, definitely much smaller than the Mesozoic Life Spinosaurus. We've also got the Papo version of the Spinosaurus, which you can see is also quite similar in size to the Mesozoic Life version. So if you do have the limited edition version of the Spinosaurus from Papo, again, you'll have a pretty good idea of the size of the Mesozoic Life version. We've also got the more recent version of the Spinosaurus from PNSO, which again you can see is a good bit smaller. And then we've got one final version of a Spinosaurus here with the GR Toys / Howlong Good version next to the Mesozoic Life version. Again, pretty similar in size, but the Mesozoic Life version is definitely a little bigger. So this brand new Mesozoic Life Spinosaurus, 1/35th scale Spinosaurus is awesome. I will say for 1/35th scale, I feel like it might be a little bit bigger than it probably should be. And I've actually seen quite a few other people taking notice of that as well. So there is that, but it could just be a really big version of a Spinosaurus. I mean, there's no way to truly tell how big this dinosaur could have been. We will never actually have that information. So, it could be that this Spinosaurus could have gotten to this size. So overall, the size of this, I think, is actually really cool because I love the massive size of it. It's extremely impressive and will make for an even more impressive display on your shelf. But I think overall, it is a very nice version of a Spino. They did a great job of capturing the most up-to-date version of a Spino that I can recall. Again, there's nothing that I can see that looks outdated on this, although I'm probably not the most knowledgeable person on the subject because the Spinosaurus seems to continuously change almost every other day. For the most part, it seems like it is a very nice, very up-to-date version of the Spinosaurus. I think in general, the figure looks fantastic and might be the best overall, as far as a visual goes, Spinosaurus that I have in my collection as far as looking like what I would expect this dinosaur to look like. They've also given this a very highly detailed sculpt, sporting all sorts of really nice fine detail, whether it be skin texture, skin wrinkles, skin stretching, folding, all of that stuff. It looks extremely realistic as far as that goes, and the paint apps are also very nicely done. There's a good bit of variation of color to it, even more so than I was expecting coming into this release. I just didn't see as much as there actually is in the original promo images, and it's always hard to really portray that when it comes to images and showing off the amount of color included. So it's really nice to see that there is so much paintwork, so much variation to the color on this, again, making it look even more realistic. And the sail, of course, is extremely flashy. Definitely one of the nicest and most, I guess you could say, exciting looking sails I've seen on a Spinosaurus in quite some time. But overall, this is a fantastic release, definitely well worth the wait. So if you are interested in grabbing one, I do believe there are still some left. This is, of course, a limited edition release, so if you do want it, I would get on grabbing it as soon as possible so it doesn't completely sell out. I will include a link in the description to where you can purchase it, so make sure you check that link, grab this insanely beautiful Spinosaurus, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.